This is Gemara in Kesubos, Daf Lamed Gimel. We're holding on the last line of Lamed Beis, and we're in the middle of a lengthy discussion, a heated debate, in how we answer up the contradiction between our Mishnah and Kesubos with the Mishnah and Makis. Our Mishnah and Kesubos taught us if someone violates a woman, what's the halacha? You pay 50 shekel kesef a knas. Do you get malchus? No. The Mishnah and Malchus taught us the exact same case. Someone violates his sister from the father, Anida, etc., and said over there you get malchus. Why there does it say malchus? Why else does it say payment? A direct contradiction. And we had two answers. We had Ula yesterday in Amud Aleph, that Ula taught us the difference between one is a naira, one is a bagaris, and the difference being that in our Mishnah it's a naira, and therefore we come out with the general rule that any time that you have a monetary payment versus a malchus payment, which one are we going to give? We're going to give a monetary payment, says Ula. That was the din of Ula. Where did Ula learn it out from? The Gzeir Shava did not work. He tried. That did not work, so the Gemara ended up with, the Tzara Shava did not work on Amud Aleph, so on the top of Amud Beis, yesterday Ula learned it out from Tachas, Gzeir Shava. Rav Yochanan said the exact opposite. The way to answer up the contradiction is what? They're both talking about an Naira. One has Asra, one does not. The Mishnah Malchus has Asra, so you get Malchus. Our Mishnah does not have Asra, there was no warning, so what do you get? Monetary compensation, the din of Knas. And we ended off yesterday with explaining where did Rav Yochanan know this from? Why didn't Rav Yochanan? What happened to the din of Chavala? The din of Chavala seemingly teaches us that you do not get Malchus when there's Asra. It teaches us that there's a monetary payment. And we finished yesterday by learning that Rav Illa, in the case of Eidim Zaymim, and the case of Chayil v'Chavera are unique because of special drashas. Those cases have a din of monetary payment. However, Rav Yochanan holds his own, that in the case where there is Hasra, you're going to get Malchus, like the Mishnah Makis taught us. Whereas in our Mishnah, there's no Hasra, that is the reason why there is no Malchus, that is why there is payment. So now, classically, as the Gemara, we have contradiction. We have Ula's way of learning, we have Rav Yochanan's way of learning. For Rav Yochanan, my time, Amar Kula, why didn't Rav Yochanan answer up like Ula? Why didn't he say the difference is that our Mishnah is a Naira, the Mishnah Malchus of Malchus is a Baigaris? Explains Rav Yochanan, it came Batalta Ervas Achil Loisegale. Says Rav Yochanan, if you're going to tell me that you learned from Tachas, the Gzeir Shava, that any time that you have money and Malchus on the table, you give money and now Malchus, what do you do with the pasuk that says Ervas Achicha Loisegale? You should not uncover the nakedness of your sister, which is a clear lav in the Torah, which should seemingly teach us there's a din of Malchus. You Ula, what do you do with that pasuk? That's what Rav Yochanan does not hold of Ula. Says the Gemara back, 1 second. The Gemara shoots back at Rav Yochanan. What do you mean? In the case of Chayil v'Chavera, Yim came Batalta lo Yosef ben Yosef. We could ask you the same kasha. That in the case of Chayil v'Chavera, why is there a monetary payment like we concluded yesterday? There's explicit lav in the Torah not to hit. Eidim Zaymin Nami. We could ask him Eidim Zaymin also. It came Batalta v'Yim ben Hakos Arasha. Yesterday we concluded that there were two Joshas by Eidim Zaymim and Rav Illa, and the Joshua by Chayil v'Chavera, unique dinim that there's payments. Says the Gemara, you Rav Yochanan are bothered on Ula, that what do you do with the pasuk? But they're psukim by Eidim Zaymim, there's psukim by Chayil v'Chavera. Ella, what are you Rav Yochanan going to have to respond? You're going to be forced to say Eidim Zaymim nafshel lekuma ben grusha bechalutza Chayil v'Chavera namikul lekayuma kil shekua akav shem b'shava pruta. Meaning, you're going to be forced to say that when the Torah says isn't it a daraisa, when the Torah says is a din of Eidim Zaymin that gets Malchus, the din of Chayil v'Chavera that gets Malchus, you're going to have to find a very unique case. You're going to say the Chayil v'Chavera is a case where you hit someone less than a Shava Pruta. You're going to get the case of Eidim Zaymin, it's Ben Grusha Bechalutza. Those are going to be the case of Malchus. So says the Gemara to Rav Yochanan, Achai Sainami, you Rav Yochanan are asking Ula. Ula, you learned it out from Tachas, and you're bothered by what about the pasuk of Ervas Achai Chalois Galei? You know what I'll tell you? Achai Sainami, just like Ula said, there is a case of Malchus. You Rav Yochanan are asking Ula, what do you do with the pasuk? There's a din daraisa, seemingly you should get Malchus. You know what Ula says? Maskim. You know when you get Malchus in the case of a Bagares. So says the Gemara, why doesn't Rav Yochanan hold of Ula? The first answer does not stand the test of time. So Amar Lecha Rav Yochanan, says Rav Yochanan 8 lines down of Lam Gimel Ram Aleph, Haytachas Esharina mi Bailech Lebaya. You know why I don't hold of Ula? Because Ula's source was Tachas Gzeir Shava, Ayin Tachas Ayin. Tachas Shar'ina. And that's how Ula learned that there's just like Ayin Tachas Ayin is a monetary payment, so to Tachas Shar'ina, that when someone violates his sister, there's a monetary payment. Says Rav Yochanan, I cannot learn like Ula, because the pasuk of Tachas I need for a different reason. I need it for the din of Abaye. What's the din of Abaye? Damar Abaye, Amar Ko, Tachas Shar'ina, Tachas Shar'ina, Mechlal De'ika, Paishes Upagam. From there we learn out that he has to pay Paishes and Pagam, a new special din. That's the reason, as Rashi points out, we're going to get to this din of Abaye at the end of the Perek, that it's not going to be just the din of 50 shekel kesef, there's also going to be the payment of Paishes and Pagam. And that is the reason why Rav Yechon doesn't hold of Ula, he doesn't like his Gzeir Shava of Tachas Eshar'inot, Ayin Tachas Ayin. So the Gemara says, okay, let's go back. Ula. What does Ula do? Ula learns out. So what does he do with the din of Abaye? Says the Gemara, as we're going to get to when we get to the end of the parak in Daf Mem, when we get to Josh of Abaye, you know what Ula's going to say? Nafkalei midarava. He's going to learn out the din like Rava learns out. That Rava says you have to give the father of the girl that you laid with, the father of the girl that you violated, 50 silver coins. And from there, Rava learns out Hana'as Shchiva Chamishim, that the Hana of the lying is 50 Mechal De'ika Baishu Begam. So that seemingly teaches us that there's other payments, and that's where Rava learns out that there's not just the 50 shekel kesef, there's also the payments of Baishu Begam, and he does not need the pasuk of Tachas, and that's the end of the story. So Rav Yochanan doesn't like Tachas because he goes like Abaye. Ula likes Tachas goes like Rava, and therefore he does not need that pasuk. Now we're going to go back to yesterday on the top of Amud Beis. We learned out Ayin Tachas Ayin. Ayin Tachas Ayin, we learned out what does it mean? Do you give your eye if you damage someone's eye? No. Tachas means you give payment. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Eliezer, I made them Zaymim, my name is Shalmim, Malki Loilaki. Says the Gemara. Excuse me, and that was the source, that what Tachas was the source of Ula that taught us, you pay money and not Malchus. Says Rabbi Eliezer, I disagree. Eidim Zaymim money Mishalim Malki Lolaki. You know why? Not because of Tachas. Meaning, Rabbi Eliezer is learning just like Ula, not like Rav Yechon. He's learning like Ula with a different source. Ula said the source is what? Tachas. Rabbi Eliezer says I have a different source. Eidim Zaymim money Mishalim Malki Lolaki Mishom Telav B'nei Asra Aninu. You know why by Eidim Zaymim you get payment and not Malchus? Because there's no potential possibility to give Malchus. Why not? Explains the Gemara about 12 lines down. The first one line is B'nei Asraninu. Amar Rava, explain why not. Teda, I'll bring you a rai, you can't give Malchus by Eidim Zaymin. Again, Eidim Zaymin is someone gives testimony that Reuven did something to Shimon, and someone else comes into Bezin and says those Eidim could not have been there because Imanu Ayisem, they were with us elsewhere. So that first set of Eidim, how could we warn them about what they're about to do, the testimony they're about to give? They're liable for the repercussions. What warning could we give, says Rav? Nesru Bey Emas, when should we give them Asra? Nesru Bey Meikaro, we should give them Hasra in the beginning, right when they walk into Bezdin. Eimar Ishtalmin, they're going to say we forgot the Hasra. Hasra has to be right before the act. They're going to say we forgot. Nesru B'Shas Ma'isa, we're going to give them Hasra right as they open up their mouth to give Eidus. Parshiv Lo Misadi, it's a problem. No one's ever going to give Eidus. Everyone's going to be too scared. Nesru Bey Leb'Saif, we should warn them after they give Eidus, they give testimony. It's too late. So says Rava, we see that it's impossible to give Hasra by Eidim Zaymin, and that is the reason why by Eidim Zaymin is going to be Mamain and not Malchus. Maskvlar Abaye asks Abaye, what's the big deal? Right after someone says testimony, boom! Tell him if what you said was not true, you're going to get nailed. We're going to give you what you tried to do to him. And therefore there is a way of giving Asra. Another way to give Asra. Give Asra in the beginning, and you're worried they're going to forget. And therefore you could remind them, give a remez as they're about to give testimony. And therefore, says Abaye, says Abaye, that which I said is incorrect. If you're going to tell me if they didn't get Asra, we're not going to kill them. Says Abaye, the requirement of Asra by Eidim Zaymin is fundamentally flawed. Are you going to tell me that if Edom give testimony about someone else, the only way they're going to get killed if they had Asra? But that's a fundamental flaw in the whole of Edom's Aymin. Because what are they trying to do? They're trying to kill someone else without Asra. And you're going to require them to have Asra? Can't be, Be'inan. And therefore says Abaye, the requirement of Asra by Edom's Aymin is fundamentally lacking, and there is no need for that, because we know the rule is whatever they try to do, we do to them, and just like they try to kill someone else without Asra, they're going to get killed without Asra. But Maskula, Rav Sama, Bereder, Rav Yirmiyah, 1 minute. Says Gemara, 1 second. Ben Grusha ben Chalutza, if you're giving edicts about someone else, about his lineage, we're not going to do the same thing to you. So maybe in that case, you should actually require Asra. Amar Kra, says the Gemara, no. Mishpat echad yelachem, mishpat hashav lekucham, that has to be one din for all of Einim Zaymin, and therefore there's no requirement of Hasra. Says the Gemara, let's go back to the din of chayvel b'chaveiroi. The din that we spoke about yesterday at length, the din that one damages his friend. And we said yesterday that what Ula teach us, the halacha is b'moina mishalim, malki lo laki. And they actually, in truth, Rav Yochanan agreed to this halacha. As you remember at the bottom of Amud Beis yesterday, Rav Yochanan said this is the unique exception. That chayvel b'chaveira, there's always a din of payment. Even Rav Yochanan, who normally holds you got malchus and not payment, but by chayvel b'chaveira he agrees. Just like Rav Illa says by Kesher Zaman, by Dim Zayvim there's a din of payment. So too by chayvel b'chaveira. Says the Gemara, how do we know this? Rav Shisha Breder Rav Idi Amar chayvel b'chaveira nami moim mishalim malki lo laki. About 10 lines to the bottom. First one is mehacha. How do we know? It says the Gemara mehacha. There are men that are fighting, and a man strikes a woman, and she has a miscarriage. That's the source, the makar for chayvel b'chaveiroi, that you have to pay money and not malchus. V'omer Rav Elazar teaches b'matzei sheb'mitzah hakasa medaber. The pasuk is referring to people that are in a death battle. They're potentially going to kill each other. As the pasuk says that if you actually kill a person, you're going to get killed back. So we see that the level of struggle and battle that's going on over here is a level of death. So, Heichi Dami, what is the case that if you potentially kill the other person, you could get killed? If there's no Asra, my Miktal, how could you get killed? Must be there was Asra. And therefore, Umasru Davar Chamer, have a Masru Davar Kal, there Hasra for Davar Chamer. We give this guy warning, you're about to get into a battle with this woman. We tell him, by the way, if you end up killing someone, you're going to get killed. What does he do? He doesn't kill her, he kills the fetus. What's that halacha? Hasra Davar Chamer is Hasra Davar Kal. Meaning the Hasra for saying chamer for killing, is that's for the cow for killing the fetus. It says the Torah, there should be no fatality. That what happens? You have to pay monetarily for that which you did. You killed the fetus. You have a din of tashlumim. So what do we see? We see that there's a potential over here for Mammon and Malchus. And what happens, says the Torah explicitly, also in Anish, a clear source that in the case of Mammon and Malchus, what do you get? You get Mammon and not Malchus. Again, from where? From this case of someone who kills the fetus, that the Gemara deduced it has to be a case of Hasra. Hasra for Davar Chamer for death, Hasra for Davar Kal for Malchus. And yeah, what do we see? We see only get Mammon and not Malchus. But I asked the Gemara something that I'm sure is bothering everyone. There was an assumption that we made. 3 lines from the bottom. Mazla Rav Ashi, Ma'adim Mustafa Chamer, Mustafa Kal. Where do you know that from? Maybe it's not true. Dilma Loy Have. Maybe it's not true. Edim Tim Salaymer Have. And even if you're going to tell me, you assume that when we give Hasra, we warn you about a Davar Chamer, that is a Hasra for Davar Kal, how do you know that, number one? And even if you're going to say it's true, number two, how do you know? An interesting question. How do we know that death is more Chamer? What's the question? Dilma Malchus Chamer, as we turn over to why would Malchus be chamer than death? Damar Rav, as Rav taught us, El Moli Nagdul Chanan Mishava Azaria. Chanan Mishava Azaria are thrown into a fiery furnace. Says bow down to an idol. Did they do it? No. Says Rav, if they were beaten, Palchu Litzalma, they would have bowed down to the idol. So what do we see from the statement of Rav Chanan Mishava Azaria? We see that beating Malchus is harder than death. They were thrown into a fiery furnace, that they withstood. But Rav said they would not be able to stand being beaten. So says the Gemara, 2 problems. Number 1, how do you know warning for Chamer is warning for Kal? Number 2, how do you know Misas Chamer? Says the Gemara, at least answering up the second question. What's your raya from Chanan Elisha Azariah? Over there, they would have been beaten ad infinitum. They would have been beaten forever. That's when they would have given in. But you're asking to Malchus. Malchus is a definitive number, and therefore there's no question from there, and therefore death is certainly more chamer. Says the Gemara, Maskiv law. Now it's true, we didn't answer question number 1, but the Gemara continues anyways. Masler of Akum and Arbakav, Hanichel Rabbanan Darmi Nefesh Mamish. It's good, we're going back. On the bottom of an Aleph, we learned that when the pasuk that when someone hits a woman and makes her have a miscarriage, we said that case has to be a case of Asra, and that's a case that there's Asra L'Davar Chamer, that's L'Davar Kal, and that's a case that you mammon and malchus and you get mamain. Ask the Gemara 1 second. Oh, Nichel Rabbanan, that says Nefesh Mamish, that in the event that he would have actually killed her, there would have been an actual Nefesh Tachas Nefesh. El Rebbe Damar Mamain. Rebbe says, what is Nefesh Tachas Nefesh? It doesn't mean actual killing. It means payment. Michael and Mamer, what are you going to say? Because you do not have to say that has to be a case of Hasra, because there's no real death on the table. So it could be there's no Hasra. If there's no Hasra, there's no potential Malchus. If there's no potential Malchus, you don't have a source to teach me that whenever you have Mammon and Malchus, you pay Mammon and you don't get Malchus. A new source, and realize it's true. There were 2 different issues with the previous drasha. The first question of how do you know Misa Davar Chamer is Asra Davar Kal was never answered, and number 2, the Gemara just asks, maybe we're going to sheet of the Rebbe that says Nefesh Tachas Nefesh teaches us Mammon. So says the Gemara, let's give a different source. Says the Torah im Yakum v'salich v'achotz. If he gets up, 2 people are fighting, he hits someone else, and what happens? He doesn't kill him, but he damages, and he's in bed, and he gets up. Yakum, he gets up, v'salich v'achotz, and he walks outside. Al mish antoi, under his own strength. V'nika hamaka, then the one that hit him is pater. So what do we learn out from over here? What does he have to pay? The pasuk concludes, Rak shivta yitin v'rapa yirape. He only pays for his payments. He doesn't have to pay for the full value of the person. He pays just to heal him because he didn't kill him. Says the Gemara, what was your havamina? Did you actually think that this guy is not killed? He gets up and he's walking around the marketplace and the guy that hit him gets killed? What was the havamina? You know what it's teaching me? You know what it's teaching me? You know what it's teaching me? We imprison him. We wait. Let's see. You hit the guy. Is he going to get up or not? If he dies from that blow, we kill you. And if he doesn't die, then what happens? He gets up and you just have to pay for his doctor bills. So says the Gemara, Heichi Dami, what's the case? If there's no Hasra Gishmak, Amai Migdal, what's the potential you're going to get killed? Again, 2 people are fighting. Reuven and Shimon. Shimon is lying in bed. Says the pasuk, if Shimon gets up and walks around, Reuven only has to pay for his doctor bills. Says the Gemara, what's the Havamina? You would think Reuven gets killed, Shimon's walking around in the shuk. You know what the case must be? Must be Reuven's in bed and Shimon's in bed, and we're waiting to see is he getting better or not. If Shimon dies, Reuven's Chayim Misa. If Shimon gets up, Reuven pays for the doctor bills. Says the Gemara, if Shimon dies, Reuven's Chayim Misa. What must the case obviously be if we're killing Reuven? Must be that he was warned. And therefore, what do we see? Because if he wasn't warned, why would we kill him? Must be that he was warned. 15 lines down, first word in line is the Asrubay. Same assumption. Warning for something chamer is warning for something chal. Warning about death is warning about malchus. And yet, what does the Torah teach us? Even though there's a potential to get malchus, why? Because you got warned. Still, what does the Torah say? Torah says you don't get malchus, rather you pay monetary payment. Says the Gemara, we have a clear source. At any time we have mammon and malchus, you pay mammon and not malchus. Maskula Rav Ashi. The same exact question. Question number 1. Maybe it's not true. Maybe there's no such concept of being warned for a davar chamer of death. The same thing as being warned for davar kal. And number 2, that it is a good warning. They would bow down. So how do you know? So Amalei Rav Sama Brei Rav Asi Rav Ashi Rav Asa. Sama Breder Ravashi, the Ravashi, V'Lashanallah ben Akalish, V'Kizla Kashim V'Kitzva, the same Kasha. Masler Amari, Mimaid V'Mezid, V'Nika Mikatala, Dum L'Shagi, V'Nika Mikalos. How do you know? Another fundamental issue. Who told you that he got absolved, meant he got absolved from the death penalty? Maybe it was the whole case was a case of Shaygeg. And what's he absolved from? He's absolved from Kalos. Therefore, we have no source at all that there was Hasra, and therefore says the Gemara, Kasha is a good question. We do not have a source. We do not have a raya that whenever there's Mammon and Malchus, you're going to get Mammon and not Malchus. But just to point out one very, very quick thought. It says over here, Chananu Nishava Azaria, El Moli Nogdua, if they would have been hit, they would have given in. From here, we see something incredible. I think it's Rav Shalom Shadran speaks out, that we see that every Nisayon is tailor-made. What can the Chananim, Mishal, and Azariah have endured? The Gemara spoke out, it's true, there's a difference between hitting ad infinitum, there's a difference between hitting ad kitzvah for Malchus. But we see that if Chananim, Mishal, and Azariah would have been beaten to a pulp, they would have given in and bowed down to Avodah Zarah. Speaks out Rav Shalom Shadran, we see something incredible. That one Nisayon could they have handled? They were able to handle the Nisayon of death, of fiery furnace, of being beaten and beaten and beaten, something that we know 6 million, not 6 million, we know millions of Jews in the Holocaust did endure being beaten forever and did not succumb. So we see that Chanan Mishal Zara would not have been able to. We speak out, we see that Nisayon is tailor-made. We see what you could handle, that's what Hashem gives you, and if Hashem gives it to you, that means you can handle it. Let's continue in the daf, about 20 lines down, the 2 dots. We're going back to something that we said yesterday. Yesterday we spoke at a stira between our Mishnah and Malchus, our Mishnah Kesubos and the Mishnah and Malchus. Our Mishnah Kesubos taught us the Elu Nairos, these are the girls, Achaisa, Chosaviv, etc. Nido, what's the halacha? You pay 50 shekel kesef. The Mishnah and Malchus get the exact same list, and what it say? You get Malchus. We yesterday spoke out 2 answers, the answer of Ula, the answer of Rav Yochanan. Ula differentiated between Naira and Bageres. Rav Yochanan said they're both Naira, difference between Hasra and no Hasra, and that got us into a lengthy discussion that whenever there's Mammon and Malchus, Rav Ula taught us you get Mammon. Rav Yochanan said if there's Hasra, you get Malchus. Says the Gemara, Rav Lakish Amar, going back on that, Stira Amar Hamani Rameiri. You know what our Mishnah, when our Mishnah said you get money, what's it going like the sheet of Rameir? The Amar Loikum Mishalim. According to Rameir, there's no Stira at all. The Mishnah in Malchus says you get Malchus. The Mishnah in Kesubos says you get money. You know why? We're going with Rameir, that you get both. Ask the Gemara, Rameir Afilu Bita Nami. So why does our Mishnah say only sister? It should say daughter as well. Rameir holds the same din as we be by daughter. V'cheitim Rameir Loikum Mishalim Eslei Mesu Mishalim Leslei. Maybe only Malchus and money. Rameir says you get both. But if someone violates his own daughter, he's chayiv misa. So there's no misa and mamain. Says the Gemara, it's not true. But why is that true? Vatani, we learned in our Braisa. If someone steals and slaughters on Shabbos, someone steals and slaughters for Avodah Zarah, if someone steals an ox the Shar Niskal, it's condemned to be stoned, and then he slaughters him. Rameir says you have to pay 4 or 5 him. So what's the case? We learned to that case. Rav Yaakov, Rav Yechon, Rav Yirmiyah, Rav Shimon ben Lakish, Rav Avin, Rav Ilah, V'chol Chavrusa, Mishpeit, Rav Yechon, and Ami. They all explain what's this case. What is this case of Ganav and Tavach and Shabbos, Ganav and Tavach of the Zara, Ganav and Tavach Shara and Niskal? What's the case? The case is B'tayveach Aydei Acher. The case is referring to one who slaughters it via another person. That is the case. And since the case that he slaughtered via another person, the halacha is that there is no death penalty. And that is the case, explains Rashi, the Rameir is going to hold that he's going to have to pay Dalid and Hey. But if he has to pay the death penalty, if he himself was Mechalel Shabbos, then there will be no death penalty. And that is the reason why it's only a din in our Mishnah. Let's continue as the Gemara explains. What? Your friend, someone else, does the shchita and you're the one that has to pay 4 or 5? How could that be? Amar Rav Amar Achmana v'Tavchai Oy Machroi Ma Machira Yidei Acher Avtavicha Al Yedei Acher. That's one way of learning. The word Oy includes the Shliach. Tachas, the Rabbis, the Shliach. Tachas comes to include the Shliach. And that is how we're answering up for Rameir. And before, actually, we're going to stop over here, but let's just try to see one. Rashi, yes, Rashi says, 3 lines from the white line. Shliach choitev v'sholeach mischayev Kinas Arba v'Chamisha v'Kayim Lam B'Kedusha Nein Shlich Dvar Aveira B'Chir Rav Shal Adei Acher Shlich V'Kama, and therefore the Gemara is answering the Rameers are going to say the din not by death and payment. Rameer's din is only a din by Malchus and payment, and that is the reason why Rameer is going to be the din and the shita of our Mishnah. Is going to be the shita of our Mishnah. Actually, we have one more minute. Let's just try to finish off this Amud. Maskiv la Mar Zutra. So asks Mar Zutra again, what are we asking? The Rameer says, the one who's Chayim Misa does not have to pay the money. When did Rameir say you get money in Malchus? It's only money in Malchus. But money and death you did not. Masla Mar Zutra. Says Mar Zutra, this is fascinating. That it comes out that when the Shliach does it, at some level, you're more Chayiv. Explains the Gemara, no. He is potter when he shechs it himself, not because he's not chayav. Because he's chayav misa. It's not that he's potter. If you shech to yourself in Shabbos, you're chayav misa. So you're going to be potter from tashlumim. If the shliach shechs it, then you're not chayav misa. That's when you're going to have to pay dalad ve'ei. My time out, you're abundant de patri. So says the Gemara, now let's flip it. What do we do with the chachamim? Man chachamim. We don't have the next amid. So we're going to have to stop over here. We're going to have to pick it up tomorrow as we'll move over to Lamed Daled, and we're going to learn that who is the Shita of the Chachamim. It's Rav Shimon that says Shchita she'ein ruah lo shma shchita. We'll learn that up tomorrow. Mir Hashem.